Hello Year 8 and welcome to your online English lesson. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the plan first of all. What we've decided as an English department is that the whole of Year 8 will just press pause on the work that they were doing with their original class teachers, and we'll all move over to do the same lessons at the same time as a year group. So that will mean that I will deliver 2 lessons a week, 2 recorded lessons that you'll be able to watch and work alongside. But those lessons will still be set by your individual class teacher using their Google Classrooms, and any work that you're asked to do during the lesson will be returned to your class teacher in whichever format they've asked for it. And that will either probably be they've asked you to email them some work, or you can attach the work to your Google Classroom. You can send it in via Google Classroom. So hopefully when we come back into school, you can return to what you were doing with your English teacher. But for now, we are going to be studying the novel The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and focusing really on our reading skills by using the novel. So in today's lesson, lesson 1, our objective is, can I comment on a theme in a literature text? For the first couple of lessons, you will be reading 1 or more chapters, and you've got 2 ways in which you can do this. I will attach into the PowerPoint a link to an online version of the novel, so you can read off the screen, and also to help you if you find that a little bit challenging, there's an audio book as well, so you can have the 2 running side by side. You can be listening to the audio book while you're looking at the text. You will have to look at the text at some points though, because many of the tasks involve one of those key reading skills, which is your ability to select evidence from the text. So hopefully you understand what we're going to be doing now, and we'll move into lesson 1. So our lesson objective is, can I comment on a theme in a literature text? And I'd like you first of all to listen to a song I'm about to play for you. Have a pen and paper ready, or have a Word document open on your computer. And as you're listening to this snippet of a song, I'd like you to, number 1, list how many challenges you think the character Isabel in the story faces, how she deals with those challenges, what are her strategies, what are her approaches to dealing with them, and what words would you use to describe her approach to meeting these challenges. So if you can't quite hear from my speakers, there are YouTube links to a rather bizarre animated version of the song, or just the music version. So here we go. Isabel had an enormous bag. Isabel, she didn't care. It was hungry day after day. His big mouth was drooling every day. He said, Isabel, glad to meet you. How do Isabel? Glad to meet you. Isabel, she would be Isabel. Didn't scream or scurry. You washed her hands, straightened her hair. Hey, Isabel, laid the bed out. Witch's face of dust and rainbow. Witch's gone with teeth strangled. Oh, Isabel, always roll. Turn you into lovely toy. Isabel, didn't worry, Isabel. Didn't scream or scurry. Showed no rage, showed no right cloud. Time to wish Isabel can jack out. Oh, yeah. Isabel! So remember, if you couldn't quite hear, if the sound was a bit muffled, you can listen to that song at home, or you can watch the, like I said, the very bizarre animated version of it, and list the challenges that she faced, how she deals with them, and really try and stretch yourself when it comes to the vocabulary that you would use to describe her approach to those difficulties. So having listened to the song or watched the bizarre cartoon version of it, we're going to start linking that idea to one of the school's core values now, which is resilience. So what is your understanding of the word resilience, and how are challenges linked to resilience? Pause the video and jot your ideas down. Having paused the video and jotting your ideas down, then you hopefully will be very familiar with the idea of resilience being your ability to bounce back from difficulties and problems and challenges. If you think about an elastic band, when an elastic band is stretched tight and you let it go, it pings back into its normal shape again. So we all want to develop these personal skills of flexibility and elasticity within ourselves, so that when we do encounter a problem that is difficult, we can rise to the challenge, we can respond to those challenges and difficulties and overcome them, and then pretty much, come back to normal again. And so you can't really do that. You can't develop resilience unless you are, facing problems and challenges in your life. So if you have a look at the next slide, then the next slide will be asking you to think about what is a challenge, what challenges you've faced today, and what effect that they've had on you, and why you think challenges are important. So jot your ideas down on your piece of paper. Now it's time for us to read chapter 1 of the novel. Keeping in mind our lesson objective, can I comment on a theme in a literature text? And that theme we're going to continue to look at is the theme of challenges and courage in the novel. So remember, you can read the novel to yourself using the online text version, or you can also have the audiobook playing to help you a little bit. And as you read chapter 1, what I'd like you to do is create a table that looks a little bit like the table on the slide here. On the one side, I'd like you to keep a list of all the challenges that the characters face in chapter 1. And on the right-hand side, try and think about the effect of those challenges, because when you do encounter a problem or a difficulty, you need to use, it will have an effect on you, won't it? I want you to think about the effect that it has on you, and also to think about any changes that character might be undergoing. What personal skills are they developing? Now, just remember that we're only implicitly told the effect of the challenge. The writer doesn't state it in black and white for us. You need to use your twin skills of inference, reading between the lines, and also empathy. That empathy is the ability to use your imagination to understand how somebody else is feeling. So when one of the characters does face a challenge, you need to have that inference and that empathy. How might that character be experiencing that? What is the effect on that particular character? So enjoy chapter 1 in whichever way you're going to access it, and make sure that you complete your table. Now compare your table of findings in terms of the challenges the characters faced and the effects on them to some of the ideas we've got on this screen here. We know right from the beginning, and C.S. Lewis doesn't spend a lot of time describing this for us, but we know that they've been evacuated from their home in London because of the air raids during the Second World War. So obviously the effect on the character would be, a sense of fear for their own safety and for the parents that they're leaving behind. They're being sent to a remote house in the country. They might be unsettled by the difference. They might be feeling homesick and feeling out of place. We've got this rather bizarre looking host that's taking them into his care. So they might be a bit intimidated by the stranger's appearance. There's the challenge of being on their best behaviour as well, and trying to be polite and trying not to be rude. And one of the characters in particular struggles with that instinct of wanting to laugh at the peculiar looking man, and having to, force himself to be polite and use his manners. They've undergone a really stressful experience, and as all children do when they're kind of squished together, they're arguing, aren't they? You've got two brothers, two sisters in a new stressful situation. So when they argue, they might be feeling irritation and frustration at each other. They might be having feelings of anger. The house is a bit frightening as well. It's a big old house in the country, and for Lucy in particular, we're told, and this is one of the few times that we're explicitly told the effect on the character, it made her feel a little creepy. They wake up hoping to explore the house. They find it's raining, so spoiled plans often lead you with feelings of dejection, disappointment. And then of course Lucy in particular experiences this very strange phenomena of going into the wardrobe, meeting new and unexpected people, and it links us really back to the beginning song. You would sort of expect her to be frightened and fearful about going into another world and meeting this strange mythical creature, but in actual fact she's very much like Isabel. She's pragmatic and calm. She retains her sense of kind of courage and bravery, and she really takes it all in her stride, doesn't she? So by introducing all of these challenges to the children in chapter 1, C.S. Lewis is also exploring one of the key themes in the novel. So let's just stop and make sure that everybody's happy with that word theme, because our lesson objective is, can I comment on a theme in a literature text? So a theme is a theme in a story is its underlying message or big idea. In other words, what critical belief about life is the author trying to convey in the writing of a novel, a play, a short story, or a poem? This belief or idea goes beyond cultural barriers. It's usually a universal idea in nature. So what theme do you think, or themes, do you think is C.S. Lewis is introducing in chapter 1? Just jot your ideas down. So we could argue then that from the very start of the novel, the children have had to show courage, bravery, and resilience in the face of many challenges, and that this is one of the key themes in the novel. And we're going to have a go at writing a series of 3 paragraphs exploring this key theme in the novel. Okay, so you are going to write a series of 3 paragraphs now exploring the theme of courage, bravery, and resilience in the novel. And we've got a writing frame on the right-hand side to help you as well. But what we're going to aim to include in each of the paragraphs is, number 1, a clear point. Number 2, a quote from the text. So remember, if you just listen to the audio version, you also need to have open the online version of the text as well. And that's quite handy, because when you do want to use a quote, you can just copy and paste it out of the online version and pop it into your own writing. Remember to keep those quotes short and to the point, aiming for them sometimes to be just 2 or 3 key words or a short phrase from the text. We want to be able to refer to the theme of courage and resilience in the novel, and we want a really high quality reader response showing your skills of empathy. You can imagine how the character's feeling and you can explain that in lots of detail. If you've got a particularly good quote and you're able to comment directly on the language, so you might be able to say, oh, it's this adjective here, or it's this verb here, that helps to show the reader that this is a frightening situation, or that the character's being particularly brave or courageous at this point, then try to include that. and really try to develop your explanation of why the event you're talking about is particularly challenging. So have a look at the writing frame then. One of the most interesting challenges faced by the children is, and remember you can go back to that table that we looked at previously and choose some ideas from that table. C.S. Lewis writes, and then you want to get your quote in there. This is particularly challenging because, so this is where you want to use your empathy and you want to explain why it's challenging. And if you're able to, you can see underlined here the language analysis part. The use of the verb, adjective, exclamation mark is particularly effective because, so are you able to explain how the language reveals that it's a challenging situation? Introduce your reader response. The reader will infer that and empathise with the character because, and then try and bring it all together by clearly commenting on the theme. Lewis is clearly introducing the theme of courage or bravery or resilience. So you'll be able to use those sentence starters. Aim to write 3 paragraphs, and when you've finished, send them to your teacher. However, your teacher has asked for you to send work to them.